begin. 1968. Inside the isolated mountains of Hollow Ridge, authorities discovered something so chilling that even today, locals refuse to speak about it. 7 children, pale, silent, and terrified, were found wandering near an abandoned coal road, as if escaping from something not human. Their clothes were torn, their feet bare, and their eyes held a fear that didn't match anything investigators had seen before. But what made this case horrifying was not the children themselves. It was what they kept whispering. It's still inside the ridge. Tonight, we uncover the part of American history that was buried for decades, sealed by fear, superstition, and something far older than any clan that lived there. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to Forgotten America, because the story you're about to hear will stay with you long after this video ends. The Hollow Ridge clan was unlike any other Appalachian family. For generations, they lived completely cut off from society. No electricity, no official records, not even birth certificates. Locals believe the clan practiced rituals older than the mountains themselves. By the 1940s, whispers started spreading. Strange lights in the trees, chanting at midnight, and children who never aged like normal children. When authorities finally attempted to visit the clan in 1963, they never reached their cabins. The woods themselves seemed to swallow the investigators' footsteps, and the team returned with an unsettling feeling, as if they were being watched from behind the trees. Still, no one reported anything officially. People in town believed Hollow Ridge should be left alone. But in 1968, that silence shattered for the children, all between the ages of 4 and 12, refused to speak at first. They sat huddled together in the sheriff's office, eyes fixed on the windows, flinching every time the wind rustled the trees outside. Medical teams reported something deeply disturbing. Though their bodies were small and fragile, their muscle scans hinted at severe stress and fatigue, consistent with long-term confinement. But worse than that was their reaction to darkness. When the lights flickered, all 7 began to scream in unison. Not words, but a guttural sound, like they were begging someone unseen to spare them. One nurse later stated that the oldest child whispered to her, "If the mountain gets dark, it will come for us again." When asked what it was, the child shut her mouth instantly. That was the moment investigators realized they weren't dealing with a simple missing person case. Something had driven these children out. Authorities hiked into Hollow Ridge the next morning, expecting to find the clan's settlement abandoned. But the path felt wrong. Trees bent unnaturally, as if twisted by hands instead of storms. The deeper the officers went, the more they noticed claw marks on the trunks. some nearly 8 feet high. When they reached the cabins, they found them broken, charred, and empty. No signs of struggle, no footprints, just long drag marks that led toward a cavern opening, known in local folklore as the Mouth. The air around the cavern was freezing, far colder than the surrounding woods. One officer reported hearing whispers coming from inside. Not echoes, but whispers, answering their movements, despite every instinct telling them to turn back. They entered the cavern and found themselves face to face with the Hollow Ridge clan's secret, hidden for decades. Inside the cavern, investigators found hand-carved symbols on the walls. Symbols identical to those found in ancient Appalachian protector rituals. But these symbols weren't meant to protect the clan. They were meant to keep something trapped. Deep inside, they discovered crude wooden beds with restraints, suggesting the children were kept there for long periods. But what terrified them most were the sketches, hundreds of them, drawn by shaking hands. Every drawing showed a tall, shadowed creature with elongated limbs and hollow eyes. The creature appeared in every sketch, always inside the cavern, always watching. According to the markings on the walls, the clan believed the mountain held an ancient spirit that required a child sentinel every decade to keep it contained. When the clan ran out of their own children, they began taking others from nearby towns. The 7 children who escaped were the last ones chosen. When investigators reached the deepest chamber, the temperature dropped so low, their breath turned to frost. There, they found a massive fissure in the rock, like a wound carved into the earth. From inside the fissure came a faint, rhythmic sound, almost like breathing. One officer shined his flashlight into the crack, only to stumble backward in terror. He reported seeing an eye, a single, unblinking, amber-colored eye, watching him through the stone. The creature didn't move. It didn't blink. It simply observed, as if studying them. The moment they stepped closer, the ground trembled, and a low groaning sound echoed through the cavern. That was enough. The team fled back toward the entrance. But as they emerged, they heard a voice, soft, childlike, calling from back in town. The children finally began speaking. They revealed that the clan elders believed the entity inside Hollow Ridge was a guardian spirit meant to protect their bloodline. But over time, the spirit had changed. It had become hungry. It demanded children. It whispered to the elders at night, promising safety in exchange for a life. The children described nights where they were locked inside the cavern, left to feed the mountain. If the spirit awoke hungry, but the spirit didn't want to eat them. It wanted them to stay forever. It said it was lonely, one child cried. It said we belonged to it. The eldest girl said the ritual went wrong the night they escaped. Something angered the entity, and the entire clan disappeared. The children claimed the spirit took them. No bodies were ever found. No footprints. Nothing but silence. The government soon stepped in, sealing Hollow Ridge and classifying all files. The children were relocated and separated for safety. But over the years, every one of those 7 children reported the same nightmare, waking up to find a shadow standing in their room, whispering, "Come home." Some were found sleepwalking toward forests miles away. One child, adopted by a family in Kentucky, vanished from his bed in 1974. His window was open, and dirt from Hollow Ridge was found on the floor. That detail was never released to the public, but leaked records confirm it. Decades later, 2 of the original children refused to speak to anyone about Hollow Ridge. One passed away, still claiming the entity followed her in mirrors. The other was committed to a psychiatric facility after writing the same phrase repeatedly on her walls: "The mountain remembers us." In 1991, a private research team illegally entered Hollow Ridge. Only one member returned. He was found wandering barefoot near the old coal road, the exact place the original children appeared. His clothes were torn, his eyes wide with terror, and he refused to speak for weeks. When he finally recovered enough to talk, he whispered the same thing the children had said decades earlier. It's still inside the ridge. He claimed the cavern was no longer empty. He said he heard the voices of children coming from the fissure, begging for help, calling for their parents, crying in the dark. He also claimed he saw the Hollow Ridge clan, but they were no longer human. Deformed, stretched, moving unnaturally. He said they crawled along the walls like shadows, whispering in a language he couldn't understand. The government today, Hollow Ridge remains one of America's most hidden and unsettling mysteries. Officials deny the existence of anything supernatural, but hikers still report strange lights near the mountains, chanting echoing between the trees, and silhouettes of children standing perfectly still on the ridgeline at dusk. Locals say the entity inside the mountain is awake again, and it wants its children back. Whether the Hollow Ridge clan was protecting the world or feeding something ancient and evil, we may never know. But if you ever find yourself near those Appalachian woods and hear a child's voice calling from the darkness, do not follow it. The last people who did were never seen again. For more terrifying forgotten American history, make sure you subscribe to Forgotten America. Your support lets us uncover the stories that were never meant to be told.